You've been listening to the Trailblazers postgame show on the Trailblazers Radio Network.
This has been Portland Trailblazers basketball. Wherever you may be, good night, everybody.
Welcome into the fifth quarter. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland, and boy howdy, that was a rough one in San Antonio. San Antonio famous for its rodeos, and the Blazers, they might feel like they just went 8 seconds with a world-class bowl after that one, because they are leaving San Antonio just a little bit banged up, Seth. Of course, we didn't really talk about it during our show because the Blazers didn't really announce it until, of course, after we were off the air. But Malcolm Brogdon didn't play, dealing with knee soreness. He did take a late fall in that game against Houston. Remember, he came up hobbling a little bit, so that's probably what that was from. But then you also have Scoot Henderson, who had a quad contusion. He's just the contusion captain this season, at least this last week, right? So he left after just a few minutes of play. And then Jeremy Grant was dealing with some back stiffness, and he left after just 10 minutes of action. He and Scoot Henderson, in fact, combined for just 16 minutes of action. Anthony Simons had to shoulder the load. He played 41 minutes. He did score a game-high 40 points, but it wasn't enough as the Blazers fall to the San Antonio Spurs 116-100. Once again, Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland. You can follow me on X at Chris J. Burkhardt. How can they follow you, Seth?
At Seth Hoy9, HOI9.
At Seth Hoy9. Feel like that's like old school. You must have had that account for a while. You got to add the numbers at the end. We all did that.
It's the OG account. I've had it ever since the beginning. I'm Seth Hoy9, and my sister is Jenna Hoy6.
Oh, okay. There you go. I like it. If you want to join in on the conversation, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Or, of course, you can go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get involved in the chat there as well. This one, though, it's not a cop-out. I know people like to say it's a cop-out, Seth, but I don't think it is, because I don't really think this game was a game that the Blazers had much of a chance when they start losing players left and right. Malcolm Brogdon, who has been one of their most consistent players over the last week, when he's not in the game, when Jeremy Grant, who's been on the season, probably your best scorer, leaves early, when you lose your rotation with Scoot, when Shaedon Sharpe is already out, the recipe is just not really there for victory.
Yeah, tough game, of course, with the injuries. And, when you have guys like Jeremy Grant and Scoot Henderson, as you mentioned, combining for 16 minutes in this game, two of your best scorers on the year. It's going to be a tough way to come out with a victory. And really, Anthony Simons did everything he could possibly do in this game. 40 points, 10 assists, very efficient 40-point game too. Again, back-to-back games for Ant with 40-plus minutes. So he's going to be looking for a day off tomorrow, which luckily the Blazers have. But Anthony Simons, how about that, Chris? He has a 40-point, 10-assist game, and it's not even the number one or number two best performance in the NBA tonight.
It's a footnote on the night. We will get to that a little bit later in scoreboard when we tell you that. But we could tell you right now, two players dropped more than 60 again. And once we get the scoreboard time, we'll dive into that one. I'm sure we'll get some takes there. But, yeah, it's a scoring barrage in the NBA tonight. And you're absolutely right. Took the words right out of my mouth. He dropped 40, and it's going to be a footnote in the history of the day that was in the NBA. Now, this one, Seth, I'll tell you this much. I know that they took the L. No one likes the L's. The L's are bad. They like those W's. They're worth more or something. But there's always things I think you can take away positively. And again, this game in particular was just rough because, again, all those injuries, it just mounted up with you again. You're going to be in trouble. As much as I really like him, I think he has the potential to be a really good player if he develops. When you're playing Chris Murray almost 20 minutes, like I like Chris Murray a lot, but let's understand what he is. When you're playing Justin Minaya 22 minutes, Ryan Ruper's getting a solid 8 minutes, it's one of those games that's going to be tough sledding.
Yeah, the Blazers have played the most minutes and most games combined for their rookies of any team in the NBA this year, and it's only going to go up after today. Every player in uniform got in the game, and you mentioned it. I mean, the bench scoring just not really there, even considering Jeremy Grant playing just 10 minutes. But you look at Scoot Henderson again, obviously left the game after just 6 minutes with the injury, but it's unfortunate because this would have been a game where, again, he could have played upwards of 30 minutes, could have had another chance to, put some points on the scoreboard. Both times in the last couple games that he's left early, he's been really efficient early in the game.
It was the game against Indiana we alluded to earlier. He was 4 for 4.
4 for 4 with 10 points in 8 minutes. And then today, 6 points in 6 minutes, 3 of 3 from the line. For what it's worth, he was +8 while he was on the floor in those 6 minutes. So, again, you feel like a game like this is just kind of a throwaway where, again, you don't want to lose the game, but it's like, what are we supposed to do? Anthony Simons puts up 40. DeAndre Ayton really has one of his best games of the year, 20 and 12, 10 of 17 from the field. And you're just so shorthanded. There's not really much else you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I was saying that sometimes there is silver linings within these games, Seth, and there was definitely something that stood out here. And it's actually, to me, it's not Simon's 40-point performance. It's the 20-point, 12-rebound performance from DeAndre Ayton. And that's on the back of an 18.17 rebound performance against the Rockets. I know that he's already a max player in this league and doesn't need to prove anything, right? But it's so nice to see two back-to-back games where he puts up much more of the numbers that you would expect of DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, and obviously DeAndre Ayton taking a lot of heat after the whole ice thing and whatnot. But, DeAndre Ayton played great, of course, going up against Victor Wembanyama. Maybe had a little extra motivation to kind of be like, hey, this guy's young. I'm, becoming a veteran in the league. I want to show him what it's like. But Wemby not phased, 23 and 12 for Wembanyama in 29 minutes of action. But DeAndre Ayton, again, very efficient from the field, 10 of 17, 12 rebounds. The Blazers in this game were out-rebounded 59 to 37. But again, it's going to be tough to take any hard conclusions from this game. You're so undermanned. Losing two players mid-game as well. It's just hard to come away with any hard conclusions, I think, stats-wise.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to remember, too, with San Antonio, that team, their guard play has left much to be desired, but they got a lot of bigs on that roster and guys that can move and guys that can get rebounds. So when Sohan has 10 rebounds, Wembanyama has 9, 16. Oh, excuse me, that was just defensive rebounds. 14 for Sohan, 12 for Wembanyama, 16 for Johnson. And I feel like you're the person that's responsible for this loss because in the pregame show, I think it was Sohan. You did mention Vassell. He didn't have a great game, but you also mentioned Johnson. You can't let those guys beat you. If Wemby's going to get his, and you said that, and Keldon Johnson had 21 points. Jeremy Sohan had 31 points. So you spoke it into existence. Welcome to the club, because I do that pretty much all the time. You can't let this guy beat you, and then he goes and beats you.
Well, yeah, they beat him, and Blazers lost. So you look, and how about 8 offensive rebounds for Keldon Johnson? I'm still not really sure why he's coming off the bench. 9 of 15, 16 rebounds, 21 points in 30 minutes. But, yeah, really good team effort overall from the Spurs. And, again, it's so tough with losing Jeremy Grant, losing Scoot Henderson, and you mentioned the minutes being dispersed elsewhere. Minaya, 22, Kamara, 23, Chris Murray, 17. Just not a lot of production from those young players.
Yeah, absolutely. You are correct in that one. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the post-game show. When we return, we're going to hit you with, what do we got? What are we going to hit you with? Should we go to the scoreboard? We should probably go to the scoreboard, because there was some big stuff going on today. There was big stuff. So when we come back, we're going to hit you with a game day scoreboard, get you caught up on your scores around the association. A couple that are definitely going to make you go, what? At least I hope they do. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. What you can do, shot of the night. Come in with shot of the night, play the highlight, then do the transition to scoreboard, and then Seth will take over. You want to do that?
rebound 8. And get this, Wilt had 2 73-point games, a 72-point game, 70, 68, 4 67-point games, a 66-point game, and 3 65-point games, all by Wilt Chamberlain. What a player.
He was all right.
8 and 14-footer straight on, rattles out and in. Blazers down 99-86, 6.5 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter.
If fans listen and want to know if Wilt Chamberlain could play in today's NBA,
yes,
we see him on a consistent basis every single year. If you want to know, it's hold on.
Simon's on the run
There you
out
go.
and slam dunk after the turnover. It's an 11-point San Antonio lead.
Giannis Antetokounmpo is the closest to Wilt Chamberlain the league has ever seen.
He's pretty good too.
And welcome back into the fifth quarter show. Seth Hoyland and Chris Burkhardt here as we take a look around the NBA. Oklahoma City, a big win tonight at a struggling New Orleans, 107-83 final score. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, no surprise, 31 points from him. Brandon Ingram, the leading scorer for New Orleans, with just 12 points for New Orleans. OKC now 32-13. In the Eastern Conference, the Cavs continue their hot streak, a 112-100 victory against the Milwaukee Bucks. Donovan Mitchell, 32 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Memphis Grizzlies, 1-point winners against the Magic at home. Jaren Jackson Jr., 30 points and 8 rebounds for Memphis. The Clippers continue to win ball games. They defeat the new-look Raptors, 127-107. North of the border. James Harden, a triple-double, 22 points, 10 rebounds, and 13 assists. In a losing effort, Devin Booker, 62 points as the Pacers defeat the Suns 133-131. Pascal Siakam, 31 points and 7 rebounds. Devin Booker's 62 points, not the most on this Friday night. The Rockets take care of the Hornets, 138-104. Jalen Green, 36 points and 10 rebounds. Miles Bridges, 21 points and 7 rebounds for Charlotte. In the biggest performance of the night and the biggest performance of the season on the road against the team that drafted him, Luka Doncic, 73 points. Yes, 73 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 assists against the Hawks in a 148-143 game. The Mavericks advanced to 25-20. Trae Young had 30 and 11 in that game as well. Blazers and Spurs. The Spurs 16-point victory, 116-100. Of course, Anthony Simons 40 points and 10 assists. Jeremy Sohan led the way for the Spurs with 31 and 14. That is your scoreboard report here on the fifth quarter show. And Chris, how about the performances we saw tonight? Luka Doncic, 73 points. Devin Booker, 62 points. Anthony Simons, 40 points. And 2 of those 3 players, their team lost the game. We were actually looking at some stats in between the shows, and we dug up that Damian Lillard has 15 career 50-point games, and 4 of those 15 games, the Blazers lost. So we have seen that a time or two before. But again, Luka Doncic, 73 points against the Hawks, the team that drafted him. He goes back to Atlanta, of course, never actually played for the Hawks, but a dominant performance for Luka. He was 25 of 33 from the field and played 45 of the 48 minutes in that game.
Those are numbers. Math adds up. Things happen. Things are crazy. I got to tell you, I mentioned this to you, Seth, how interesting it is that now – I don't know. This has probably never happened in NBA history before. Actually, you know what? I know it hasn't since, only 4 players or whatever have scored 70 or more points, 73 or more points, that is. Interesting that on one night in the NBA, a player scored 70 or more and a player scored 60 or more twice in the same week. And in both instances, Seth, the player who scored 70, his team won, and the player who scored 60, his team lost. I mean, dropping 62 in a losing effort has got to hurt. And as for the 73 monster performance from Luka Doncic, Seth, that one has to feel extra good, or extra painful, depending on what side you're on, because it happened against the team that traded him on draft night. That's right. People forget, but the Atlanta Hawks had Luka Doncic right there, and they traded him for Trae Young. Absolutely interesting. He goes and drops 73. And that only helps my case a little bit because I have been on the Luka Doncic is my early MVP vote. So, yeah, huge performance from him. And also Devin Booker. I don't like him because he continues. Every sportscaster, you sit here and you spew off enough on this mic, you're bound to make bad takes, right? And I did not believe in Devin Booker. I thought he was overhyped, and he did take just a little bit to get going. But now that he gets going, my God, is he fun? He's a bucket, as the young kids say.
Yeah, Devin Booker, his mid-range is really what is impressive to me. I think it's because personally, mid-range was always the toughest for me as a player. Now, I never played at a high level, anything higher than high school, but anybody who can hit a mid-range jumper, I don't care what level you're at. I do a lot of Division III basketball for George Fox. If you can hit a nice mid-range jumper, that's extra impressive to me. And usually Devin Booker, actually, you look at his stats, he doesn't shoot a ton of threes. Now, tonight, he was 6 of 12 from three because he was feeling it and had 62 points. But really, for a guard, Booker doesn't shoot a ton of threes. He had 37 shot attempts in this game to get to his 62 points. Of course, Kevin Durant still played in the game. Bradley Beal still played in that game. And the Suns lost. Yeah. And that's losing to a Pacers team who did not have Tyrese Halliburton. I think Indiana is going to make somewhat of a run, or at least make things interesting in the East. Pascal Siakam tonight, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Of course, the Blazers saw him in his first game as a Pacer, but I've been really impressed with that team over there in Indiana.
Yeah, I have as well. I also think I don't like just lumping teams in that he used to play for, but I also think Indy is one of those teams that Malcolm Brogdon would make a little bit of sense for. Give them some depth there too. But yeah, you're right. 22 of 37 from Booker. And you look at Luka Doncic, you talk about efficient games. I mean, this guy goes out there, Seth, 73 points, 25 of 33, missed 8 shots all night.
And then 15 of 16 from the line, too.
I mean, that's incredible.
The thing that's always crazy for me is it seems like a lot of times in these high-point games, you see it with Dame, too, where he had 7 assists. So he scored 73 points.
He led his team in assists.
And still had 7 assists.
He almost had a 73-point triple-double because he had 10 rebounds.
Pretty much had a hand on every play in that game. And speaking of that, I mean, you look at Anthony tonight, 40 points on the dot, 10 assists for Ant. And the Blazers scored 100 total points. So you do the math, and Anthony was involved in a high percentage of the Blazers' points here today. That was efficient as well. 14 of 27 for Ant, 7 of 15 from 3. And you don't see double-digit assists from Anthony very often as well. But the Spurs were double-teaming him, so he gets rid of the ball and finds somebody else who's open. And a lot of times today, it was really just him and Ayton. They combined for 60 of the Blazers' 100 points.
Absolutely, and you do. He doesn't get double-digit assists very often. But I think what makes this one impressive, again, even though it was a loss, was the fact you do that with no Malcolm Brogdon in the lineup, Jeremy Grant leaving early, who's one of your best catch and shoot guys. No Shaedon Sharpe, who's been a good scorer. Yeah, so I like those. Like those numbers. I think it's impressive. You love to see it from Ant. You love to see it from Ayton. The only unfortunate part is that everyone else that was healthy, none of those guys were your normal scorer guys, right? So good games from your two guys, just not good enough because those two putting the whole team on your back to get through just about any team is going to be rough. It's just the NBA. We'll see how that continues to roll as we move forward. All right, good job. You get a passing grade for your ability to get us out of a break right into the scoreboard like a true pro. Going to take a quick break here on the show, though. When we return, going to hit you with the Coach's Corner. I'm going to tell you what's going on in the world of Chauncey Billups following that loss to the Spurs. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Well, okay, my bad. Yeah, I just muted you. I thought you were. Blame Shacker. Hey, Shacker, BC House says, how come you're not playing any music? He doesn't hear any music. He thinks the stream's done. It's not. I promise. We're coming back, BC. Shacker says he doesn't like doing it, BC, because he always forgets to turn it on and off. He'll super chat us some money if we do. Come on now. How long we got? How long we got in the break? All right, BC, we'll be back in 30 seconds. I'll talk to you for 20 of them. You know, I can do 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 do. Singing songs for the YouTube chat because Shacker didn't play any music and they don't want to think that the broadcast is over. All right, we'll be back in a sec.
Ant obviously is one that could. He's 7 for 15. Other than that, we was like 3 for 22 from 3. Tough sledding, but we got good looks, which is all you can ask for. Played hard on defense. Couldn't get any rebounds. You know, it's tough in this game when you can't get the rebound. You get 59, 30, 37 on the boards. You usually never have a chance in the game.
What have you thought about the way DeAndre played both tonight and the way he's played, I'd say, the last 5 games? It seems like he's starting to get his rhythm back a little bit. Yeah, I think DA is playing well. You know, he's starting to get a little more comfortable. Unfortunately, he just hasn't played enough with our unit, you know. But I think he and Ann are starting to develop some chemistry out there, you know, also with Malcolm, you know, when he's playing. Scoot, too, is doing a good job of finding him in the pocket and up top. So I think DA's starting to get a lot more comfortable with what we're doing, you know, and who he's playing with.
I don't want to say the joke, but like defending Victor is just an animal in itself. How do you feel like they did that overall tonight?
Overall, I thought we did a good job. You know, overall, we did a good job. I thought we were physical with him. We turned him over a few times, but you know, he's a special player, so he's going to have advantages out there. He shot the 3 very, very good today, too, which has been kind of up and down for him. You know, it was an up day for him, you know, from the 3, as well as their team. So he played well, but I thought we did a good job on him. Good.
I wasn't even paying attention to like where you were because I can't see how much longer is left in the audio from where Shacker is. So I was just ornery and I like get in his ear. I was like, "We good?" And like right as I say it, Chauncey says it. We good? We good? That needs to be a drop. You need to put that in there. Put that in the system. We can use that more often. All right, welcome into the 5th quarter. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland. We've been dubbed Berkland by the chat, so thank you for that. If you want to join in on the conversation, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number, or you can go to youtube.com, type in Riv City Radio, and you can join the chat there as well, where Cal and Tiffany and everyone's having fun. Thank you, Tiffany. Thanks for coming back to the chat despite saying we couldn't be friends anymore because I was an advocate for ketchup on my hot dog. Food takes. Nothing will drive a rift between friends or a host in a YouTube chat more than hot food takes, Seth.
trying to think of some other hot topics for food. Hot dogs. What are some other ones that get people fired up?
Oh, the pineapple on pizza is the one that gets people going.
See, I have an opinion, but it's not enough to like go back and forth on. Like, I don't think pineapple. I personally don't like pineapple on my pizza, but I'm never gonna fight someone about it.
Oh no, not at all.
You know?
Yeah, I don't mind it. You want to know what a good one is? Every time I tell everyone this, it blows their mind. Okay, but I had it at a place, the Barrio Queen in Scottsdale, right? Pomegranates in your guacamole.
I would never think of that.
It sounds weird, but and this place was top-notch Mexican joint, let me tell you what. And the key is it has to be a spicy guac, Seth, so that you take your first bite and you get that kick of heat, and then one of those pomegranate seeds bursts, and all of a sudden the sweet comes in. I'm telling you, dude, it's good stuff. You got to try it. Expand the palate.
That's interesting. How about the peanut butter, what's the peanut butter burger from Killer Burger?
The peanut butter bacon pickle burger? At
that
Killer
one
Burger?
right there.
I was intrigued. I had to try it. Shacker turned his camera back on just to shake his head and put his thumbs down. He said he is going to make him barf. I liked it. I like the
it gets
peanut
people
butter
fired up.
I like the peanut butter pickle bacon burger.
I'm not even going to try to say it.
Yeah, Sally sells seashells by the seashore or something along those. Like, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? See, none of those are as hard as peanut butter pickle bacon burger.
You killed it.
All right, now you just had a chance to listen to Coach Billups there, and I want to get your take on it because I think that is something he said kind of keyed off. Made my ears perk up because I've noticed it on the floor over the last few games. We talked about it already, but I think it says something that Chauncey alluded to it because he's not always keen to give out the compliments, but the comfort level of DeAndre Ayton. Like, he talked about how DeAndre Ayton looks like he's finally getting comfortable being back in the lineup after missing some time, comfortable with what they want to do. And it's shown because back-to-back he's had two pretty good games.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton really, again, since he's been back from the whole missing the game incident, he's been really good. Had a couple slow games, but is kind of coming into his own, kind of what Blazer fans expected when they had acquired them. But, you could hear Chauncey Billups in the post-game interview, kind of like I was explaining earlier. It's like, we what else are we supposed to do? We lose two key guys in the game, Jeremy Grant and Scoot Henderson. Anthony scores 40. DA has one of his best games of the year. It's like, well, it's time to go home, basically.
Yeah.
And, a 4-game road trip, a lot of road games recently. 10 of the next 12 games for the Blazers are at Moda Center. And those two road games are back-to-back, both in Denver.
Especially one big one on Wednesday, the return of the man from Oakland, Damian Lillard, and there might not be a dry eye in that house. I think he's going to get a standing ovation. She might shed a tear. I'm telling you that the video, he's going to get a tribute. It's probably going to. If there's people who boo Dame, which there might be during intros, I guarantee you it's going to be 100% cheers once they play that video.
There, no way any boos at all. If you boo Dame, I don't even know what to say. There's no chance. But one thing, if it's about Blazer fans in general and welcoming players back, obviously Dame is a different story. Dame is not Mo Harkless. Dame is not Wesley Matthews. He's not Zach Collins. But, even when those guys come back to town, you always hear cheers.
Oh, yeah.
You always hear an extra kind of buzz coming back. I remember when, LaMarcus came back, obviously. That was a game that I was like, okay, I got to be there because LaMarcus was always one of my favorite players watching the Blazers. I loved Wesley Matthews, Nick Batum, that whole team. But anytime any former Blazer comes back, yet alone the greatest Blazer of all time comes back, it's going to be really special. I'm, again, also unfortunately at this moment a Seahawk fan, and I was at the game when Russ returned, and I just thought it was crazy that people were booing him. I mean, Russell Wilson, the way he went out probably wasn't ideal, but he brought a Super Bowl. He did a lot of stuff for the city of Seattle and really put the Seahawks back on the map. I don't expect there to be anywhere near that. There won't be any boos. No chance anybody boos Dame.
I disagree. I
Really?
think there's a small percentage because, like Cal says here, the loyalty factor. So many people soured on him when I want to be the greatest Blazer of all time. I want to play my whole career here. Turned into I want to trade. That one soured a lot of people. If they boo, I do feel they'll turn to cheers by the end of that game. They're going to get it out, and then they're going to watch this highlight video. They're going to see the wave. They're going to see the bad shot. They're going to see every tap of the wrist, and they're going to remember all the great memories that man gave them.
Yeah, and knowing Dame, I mean, obviously he'll be swarmed by the media and asked, questions about returning home, and he'll, probably say, "Oh, it's another game, but it's not another game, and that's going to mean something to him to try to have a big performance here coming back to Portland. No, that's going to be a special game for sure.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take our final break of the show here. When we return, we're going to hit you with a What's the Scoot? Update you on Scoot Henderson and what's going on with the Blazers' young rookie. If you're on YouTube, you yelled at us for not playing music last time. So you know what? I'm just going to stay and talk to you guys on YouTube. Behind the scenes content. Chris Burkhardt here with Seth Hoyland on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Perfect. Sure. Sounds good to me. All right, YouTube chat. There you go. You were just hearing me talk to Shacker, doing some behind-the-scenes producing, figuring out what times we're going to play breaks and all that. Tiff says she's going to back Dame 100%. I like that. Let's see. Cal, I wouldn't boo, but I'd be more sad that he wanted to be a Blazer, and now he's not a Portland anymore. I mean, I get you. I miss Dame because I've said this before. I started covering the team professionally. It was my first gig in the business with NBC, 2014. So this right now, it's the first year I've ever had to cover a team without Dame on it. Now, granted, I had years as a fan, but from a professional standpoint, there is no man in a Blazer uniform that gave me more great memories than Damian Lillard, right? So yeah, I miss seeing him in a Blazer uniform just as much as you guys do, because when you cover the sport or you're a fan of the sport, one thing that makes covering it more fun is watching really good players play really good basketball, and Dame made it fun, man. So I'm looking forward to that game, quite honestly. You like the addition to the NERC sign? Perk fever? I heard it's highly contagious, but symptoms are minimal. The only symptom is usually tuning into YouTube at random times of the day because you get a live notification. That's right. Management never gave Dame a real talented team to make him successful. I mean, that's a fair assessment. That's a fair assessment. I mean, the best team he had, right? 2019 with the Western Conference Finals run, but that team definitely outkicked its coverage, so to speak. Like it played way above its weight.
What do you think about the team 2016 maybe when Wes Matthews tore his Achilles?
Chad doesn't think so, but I think like those early teams were championship contenders if they didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, when Wes went down, that team was great defensively, offensively, they could score. And when he went down, not only did you lose such a good guard, then you had to lean on, rookie CJ McCollum at the time. You lost a lot of your heart on the court. Wes was special. So, yeah, I liked that team a lot.
That was another good moment when Wes Matthews came out of the tunnel with the Iron Man mask on.
Right?
That was pretty sweet.
Yeah. Cal, don't say anything good to me about that one. All the love and respect goes out to Seth, because Seth was kind enough to gift me this as bringing him in to co-host with me. So he's like, hey, I'll bring you some Hops merch. Brought me the Soñadores, which I'm in love with it because I think it's objectively like one of the coolest secondary rebrand logos in all of sports. It's beautiful. So big shout out to Seth and the Hillsboro Hops. It's a beautiful little logo. Yeah, I'm out here giving props to people pointing out the Sonia Dores polo or pullover I'm wearing, and then they're like, "Yeah, I work with Seth." What?
Calvin. Yeah. I wasn't even looking at the chat.
I'm over here just giving mad props to Seth and the Hops, not knowing that I'm talking to. And the bats from me. Look at well, thank you, Cal, as well. It's you guys know how to treat a radio host. That's what I tell you.
Man, I need to read the chat.
That's why we have it, Seth. I do mean it wholeheartedly. This should just be the brand. This is the coolest logo in like all of sports. I love this thing. But Seth, before we go, kudos to you, my man. I bow down to you. Thank you so much for coming in, co-hosting the last 2 days with me. You've been wonderful, man. And I hear that somewhere down the line, you might be in this seat hosting some game day. So that's going to be fun, man.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Definitely glad to finally meet you in person.
Right.
And yeah, happy to be here. Thanks again.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for us. Enjoy some NFL football this weekend. It's going to be crazy. And, of course, we'll be back with some game day on Sunday. Blazers return to the court. Chris Burkhardt here for my partner for the day, Seth Hoyland. Rip City. We'll see you next time.